The horrific pictures which are coming out of Afghanistan. We've seen those pictures at the Kabul airport where people are scrambling over each other just to get on that plane or that flight to safety. Unfortunately, not many have been that lucky. But if the pictures which really hurt you, and especially as a woman, it is what's going to happen to the Afghan women who are there. Those who are looking at hope to study, to have a better future. Will they be pulled out? And will it be a return to those regressive times where they're being targeted? They're having to wear a hijab or a burqa forcefully and have to kind of hide their identity. There are many stories who fled away from Afghanistan, but it's never been a home really away from home. And joining me now is, of course, Asta, who's been working extensively with such women refugees from Afghanistan, and who should be joining us. She's joining us from Germany, and she's been one person who's been away from home for many, many years. So I'm going to go to you first, Nusul. I know when we were speaking earlier, you were telling me that this is a big, big thing what's happening in Kabul and in Afghanistan. And as a woman, we all are outraged. And that's why I want to ask this question. Why should we women always have to pay the price? Why are we always so vulnerable when any such crisis takes place?
Well, thank you, Pallavi, for having me. This is one of the very unfortunate situations in Afghanistan right now, and I hope that I will keep my calm and I will not say something that would hurt anyone's feelings. But this situation is extremely unbearable and it's very painful. And coming back to your question, if women will get education, if the next generation of a country gets education and knows the difference between right and wrong, then the so-called powerful Taliban will lose their future generation and lose their army, which they want to make. Then the women will not be anymore producing their kids, and they will know their rights and they will stand for their rights. So cutting down women from the world, and especially from the world of education and awareness, is one of the biggest reasons for Taliban to make sure that women stay and work as their slaves. On 15th of August, where it was India's Independence Day, I was wishing my friends in India, and on the other hand, I saw this video where Taliban has dragged down the flag of Afghanistan. No country wants to see this. No country, no inhabitant of a country wants to go through an experience like this. No generation wants to be a generation of immigrants. No one wants to grow somewhere else being called, oh, you come from a country that supports Taliban. Well, excuse me to the world and to those who has not educated themselves and who have no idea of the reality. Please go and educate yourself. We live in a world of social media and awareness, and you must know the history before pointing fingers on a nation that has nothing to do with the extremism. Of course, there's poverty. Of course, there's corruption. And I'm not denying the fact that we have had a corrupt government over years and years. But that has nothing to do that we, the normal Afghan, the normal human being living in that country, the poor people living in that country, wants to support Taliban. Of course, if you will bribe the poor, they might stand with you. But I tell you, this is a very unfortunate situation, and it's very painful that a lot of people, a lot of those who call themselves that they are the spokesperson for peace and for unity and for children's rights and for women's rights, they kept quiet until Taliban completely took over the country. And to get my facts very correct, I have numbers for you, and you probably know it, Pallavi, already. 27 children died within the first 3 days. 136 got injured, and 1,000 civilians were killed within the first 3 days of Taliban taking over Afghanistan, or while they were in progress to take over Afghanistan. Now, I ask myself, where is UN? What is UN doing? I saw the statements of UNICEF saying, we are surprised and shocked to see the sudden progression of Taliban taking over Afghanistan. And we want to ensure that the children will be protected. Now, excuse me, if tell me if I'm mistaken, or tell me if I have missed something. Is there a special kind of bomb that you want to throw in a war and that says, please do not touch children? Do not touch women? A war is a war. And UN has completely failed, not itself, but us and those who have believed them. You do not
So
want
I'm
to
just going to
see.
come back to you because I really want to know. I know it must be very painful for you to recount why you had to leave your hometown. But this is where Asta, she touched upon the fact is that women become vulnerable. And you are working with a lot of refugees and a lot of women, of course, from Afghanistan. When you meet them, when you interact with them, that pain must be still there with them.
Yes, so like I have been working with them for now more than 2 years, and these women, like when you speak with them, when you talk to them, they want to go back, but they know that they can't, and they always have this hope in them that one day everything will be all right and they can go back to their country, but they're simultaneously somewhere they know that that's like a very distant dream for them right now, and the pain is
Mm,
there, like it's like the women who have escaped from that scenario, when they talk about like how their families were killed in front of them, how their sisters or their daughters were taken away by Taliban people forcefully, because like
yeah, that's
they used to
terrible.
be like all the widows and all the young ladies, they just used to say that they are our women. If they're not married, then they are our women and they have to marry us. They will marry them and they will take them forcefully, having many wives just
Mm,
for the sake of producing children. Like women have basically, like what I, like after discussing with them, even like how she said, like that Afghanistan was a very different country. Like it was not that regressive actually, like how people it's being portrayed when whenever people talk about it. It was not that regressive actually. Like when we speak with those women, the traditions that they talk about, and like how the males give dowry when they get married, and it like they
yeah,
used to get so much respect, and everything, like the education, like they wanted their daughters to get very well educated. But after Taliban came in, they forced them to wear hijabs, like even if like they couldn't go out, no woman was allowed to go out except if they have had a male companion with them, even if it was like a 10-year-old child. Like a 10-year-old male companion can come and accompany them if they want to go out, otherwise they cannot go out alone. And if they moved out alone, then they and if the Taliban catches them, then they used to get punished, harassed, abused. So and now they have escaped. Like the women who have escaped, they're thankful that they have escaped, but they are very they fear for their families. Like one of our women
yes.
was telling that she was talking to her mother, and she told that that she was very very sick and she couldn't go to the areas, like the urban areas, to get herself treated, because she cannot move alone and they are scared to death about like what will Taliban do. She told her like 25 women were abducted by Taliban and they took them to they don't know where they took them, and they just say that they are our women and we are going to just be with them. So they are going to marry us because they are alone and they are not married, and or they are widowed. So if they don't have any male companions, Taliban just take the women for themselves. So I have just realized this, that the country Afghanistan as a country was not that regressive, but Taliban has made has like it's the Taliban's, basically it's their thought process which has made it. And I think women and children are always the target because they think
Vulnerable.
that the
Yeah.
vulnerable
That's why,
communities, the
Nuzul,
weak.
Yeah.
So they're like, you
Yeah,
don't see.
it's this regressive concept that we are commodities, that
Yes,
you control over me, my body, my spirit. I
yes.
control the whole country. Nurjan, when you left Kabul, I mean, I know, Majid, I'm terribly sorry to have to ask you to recount it, but just for us to even understand your pain, it must have been a terrible moment for you.
Um, I have left Kabul when right after I was born. My family migrated because of the war in 1991. So I was a very young little girl, 6 month old, when they migrated. However, I have, despite of not living in the country and not, remembering how it was during the war when they have fled, I have seen it in home, at home, when they migrated from Afghanistan to Pakistan. I have felt the pain that my mother went through. She got married when she was 18. She's a journalist. I belong to a very educated family who has always given priority to education and to women working and having the same rights as men. I have brothers and one sister, and we have always grown to respect women and men at the same level, and they have the same rights. So not only me, and I'm 100% sure that the thousands of other educated and people from Afghanistan who really belong to Afghanistan and who really have the same ethics as we are grown into. I have seen my mother gone through the pain of first losing the country, and secondly, during the last years, she was not allowed to go to work. She was a journalist. She used to work for women in the social services. She had to literally, from one day to the other, leave everything that she has worked the last 18, 19 years of her life, and left everything. And then all those other women who with her in Pakistan, which I saw growing, that they came and they explained their pain, that how abusive Taliban handled them while they were trying to escape, that they had to they were forcefully being raped, or their kids were taken, or their sons were taken away, so that they could join the Taliban army. There are so many painful stories that I have grown hearing, because my mother used to console all those women, because she thought that's the way that, you know, um, being unresourceful, but still listening to people and helping them while consolidating them. So this is a very painful situation. And not only that, imagine which country, which people of of any country would want to grow somewhere else, being called as a migrants, right? Immigrants. So do you think that which kind of psychological impact will it have on children and women?
Hmm.
While growing, you're going as an immigrant. I live in Germany since last 10 years, and I have went through immigration processes couple of times in my life. I have grown, I have grown um, thinking that I belong to Pakistan, but there is a different culture at home. Then I've moved to Germany because of a different reason. Then I had to integrate and learn the language. The war does not only impact us as a human being, as a woman, as a children, just in this moment, but it leaves an impression through generations and generations. And the women who are now right now, the same way that you were saying, there was a letter that was issued by Taliban, and I quote, in early July, Taliban leaders issued an order to the local religious leaders to provide them with a list of the girls over the age of the 15 and widows under the age of 45 to marriage with Taliban fighters. Um, Excuse me? Who the hell are you? Who the hell are you who wants to forcefully make teenagers, girls, your sex slaves? Don't you have the fear of God? Which kind of religion are you following? Because this is not what Islam teaches, if you really want to portray Islam. You know,
Absolutely.
if you really want to portray Islam, go study Islam. Because the last prophet got married to a widow who was 20 years older than him. She was a working lady and she was educated. So if you say that this is Islam, then you have to put your concepts and your facts correct, and you have to educate yourself. And and I do not believe that this is only about Islam and this is only about Taliban. There are many big games behind this. This is going since years and years and years in Afghanistan, and this is the central of Asia. It connects so many other countries. It it's just sad that women and kids are going through the hell because of this certain strategy of certain people, certain organizations, and now the women are going through it.
Asa, when you meet any of these refugees, before we start winding up this show, do you find a kind of a psychological, problems in there, or it deep depression to cope with this? And I'm sure when they're seeing those pictures which are coming out, they're
Yeah.
recounting their horror themselves.
Yes. So like many women have, like somehow they had decided, like many women are very headstrong in Afghan. I would say Afghan women are very headstrong. They have gone through a lot, and still when you meet them, you feel like, they never, cry about what happened to them, but they're always, that always looking forward to doing something better and making their lives better. Like they are just finding opportunity in like whatever is being given to them. But yes, at the same time, there is suffering, the suffering that they had, and like the fear of the families who are living there. Like I have very young women who have gone through depressions and stress related problems, like seeking therapy to come out of it, because this the kind of lifestyle they're living at the moment was not which what they used to live. And apart from that, not just the lifestyle, but I would say apart from all this, the kind of suffering they had gone through, it has been imbibed in some, like in their minds. So the women, there are women like very young women, 20-year-old, 18-year-old women, like the girls I
Okay.
used to talk to, like the
Okay.
women,
Yeah.
they're very sad. They have gone through that depression and stress, and now the
Mm-hmm.
fear has again come, because now when they see news and they see all these things happening in Afghanistan by Taliban again, they're very very, like they are scared. They fear that their country will be destroyed. They will never be
Yes.
able to go back to that life again. And their families who were left behind, the people who have been left behind, they are,
Mm.
how they are going to survive, what's going to happen to them. So that a lot of recklessness and anxiety is there in the women these days.
Yes. Yes. I can understand that, and Asta, and really thank you both of you, but especially Rutul, because I understand you that's your country, and when you are seeing those pictures, it's very difficult to cope with. It's very difficult for us also to actually watch those pictures, and we also fear. But I also have this hope in God, and God willing, that things are better this time around, and women don't have to pay a price for this crisis. But many, many thanks to both of you for joining us on this show,
Thank you
and
so
God
much.
willing, everything should be
Thank you
fine.
so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you so much.
all pray for the well-being of Afghan, and we'll do whatever we can on our part. And thank you so much for doing
Yes,
this show, because I think it's time that these their lives also matter. When people need to now speak up
absolutely.
and talk about that also.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much.
for this